Everyone, Jenna Mike here. We're back with another video. Today I'm with Jay King, and we're going to be reviewing the second season, but not the final season of Squid Games. Squid Games 2, season 2 on Netflix. All 7 episodes are currently streaming now on Netflix, and we'll review our thoughts. All spoiler filled at this point. The whole world, internet, have seen it and everything, and you just have to catch up. But yeah, what was your thoughts, spoiler filled, of season 2 of Squid Games?
One of my big concerns before going into this season was like the first season was a smash hit for a reason. It was nothing like anyone had seen before, and it's hard to repeat those concepts and they not feel stale. Thankfully, I think season 2 had a good middle ground of not fully just focusing on the games nor completing this session of the games in this season. You know, we have moments focusing on the game, we have moments focusing on them finding where the game is, moments with one of the masked assailants of the game. It's like it's pulled in different directions, but it all feels like uniform. Like it feels like it's not without purpose, and I think that's how they perfectly kept season 2 interesting, among the many things that kept the season interesting, that being characters and just everything that these characters do in this season.
Yeah, because like I felt I know when my wife was watching it, she was like, I don't know if this is better than the first one, but like for me, I enjoyed it because it learned from the first one and progressed the story. The only thing that it did end abruptly, but I think that was intended because they shot season 2 and 3 back to back with this. But I thought, well, how they planted the seeds, and now like I'm not frustrated because we're gonna get the other half, no, next year, in 2020, or this year in 2025,
or this year. Yeah.
So,
Happy New Year, everyone.
Yeah, Happy New Year.
Yeah.
Time of this recording. So we're not that far off. But I think certain new characters that get introduced. My fear was I did not want this to be a complete rehash of season 1, because that task can get old very quick. In terms of we've seen ripoff, we've seen Mr. Beast make his own type of Squid Games and stuff, and so it's like we have the Squid Games reality show and stuff like that, and even though I know this show was written before the reality show on Netflix, I felt there were certain archetypes that definitely were almost near identical to some of the people in the show and the people in the reality show. Like, for example, like the mom and son players and stuff like that. Now, even then, in real life, it wasn't toxic like it is in the show. But I'm just saying, you just seen that. Well, how would a mother and son interact if they were in this game? But then, like, let's take it one step further. What if somebody's pregnant in this? Like that. I was just like, wait, it's like, and I was like, oh no, right? And then you having all walks of people, different people, which is on the same trope of people that are needing money and everything. You have previous scammers who now are bankrupt. You have fail like pop stars, or also people even in like you have a transgender character, which and the one thing I thought was like fascinating was like they did not make that a whole big deal. And I'm not just using this character and as just a talking point, just like the fact of cohesively you saw different backgrounds of all these characters. And unfortunately, we know when we're in this generation where we're calling everything woke, but at the same time, you also have stories promoting representation, obviously with a all Asian cast, right? But with this is like you've seen different walks of life, but this is how these people are from different communities, but we're not making that the story. The story is who these characters are, which are people who like that, and I like that. Even then, all of these characters, new ones that were added, gave me enough time to be fully invested into them. Even these 7 episodes, that I would even thought, watching episode 1, like when I hear, oh yeah, this type of character can be in the show, I'm like, wait, what? Had no clue. I just went in this show blind, but I was just fascinated how they put that in there and just cohesively wrote a structured story of characters that you're invested in, but yet who they are in terms of where the community or background they're from, sexuality, whatever, that wasn't the issue. It was no issue. You were just invested because it was just good writing of these characters. But what was your thoughts on that, man?
No, I have to agree. It's like, again, when it came to the new okay, let's talk characters first off, because like for the most part, this is a primarily new cast, while the main 3 being returning from season 1. We got Lee Jung-jae returning as Gi-hun, player 456. We got the front man Lee Byung-hoo, who, surprise, surprise, is following in the footsteps of the last player, number one, and joining the games himself.
He was also Storm Shadow in G.I. Joe. So yeah, but no, he's been around.
And we also got Gi-hun Jun returning as his brother Jun-ho, trying to find the island again. But outside of them, we have primarily new characters like Min Young, who was a YouTuber invested in freaking Bitcoin and
or crypto or something like that. Yeah,
crypto. Yeah, screwed that up. We also got a loyal father trying to save his sickly daughter, which even ties into one of the masked men of this season. The transgender we mentioned before, Hyun Jun, again, it's like that wasn't a whole big thing. It's like she was just another character, and the fact that she was transgender, yes, that was talked about a little bit in the show, but that wasn't focused on to a high degree. I mean, it was focused on enough, but not too much. You know,
it wasn't beating you over the head with it. But I think the big thing again, it's like you're introducing this different amount of characters, like new characters, but it's still balanced, as in a way it's like I don't feel like oversaturated. You're still following, these characters even when they, they get killed off and stuff. But still, regardless of it, I just felt I was just happy that they were showing just diversity even in these own characters in terms of who they are. Right. Yeah. I felt like with this season, like how they kind of shifted, like before we even get to the games, established at least the first or second episode on the morality and the ideologies that set the tone for this entire season. Like particularly, you get the salesman from season 1, and it gets to a whole psychological thing, but it represents a bigger picture here of what he actually doing and why he's doing what he's doing, right? Is he crazy, or is it just he believed this ideology about the rich and the poor, and the fact that hey, you give these people opportunity and they always go with the predictable route, and human society has not proven him wrong. But yet Gi-hun, who have seen the player 1 from season 1 that died, who actually ran the games and everything, and before he died from cancer, he's like, no, I bet you that person's going to help save that homeless person, and they end up doing that. And that was his motivation to keep going, like, no, there's hope in society, right? While the salesman and the people there, they're like, no, these people are predictable and sacrifices have to be made, and you want to go play this hero, see how far you can go, right? And I loved, again, just the first episode, just seeing also just how Gi-hun, how he evolved just from season 1. That has been almost a 3-year gap, 2 or 3 year gap.
It was like in both real life and also within the universe of Squid Game, it was like a 3-year gap. I mean, hell, well, I mean, 2-year gap, but 3 years since he entered the game, because we also see that his friend from the horse race from that very first episode is also a player here, and he's like, I haven't seen you in 3 years. Your mother died. What happened to you?
Right. Yeah. And also the fact the gangsters or mobsters, whatever, that was trying to collect debt from Gi-hun is now his employees because he bought them. It's like it just and then how that dynamic just completely just changed in terms of power, right? But I want to kind of go into talk about the front man, which is to me the most fascinating part of this season for me. And every time he's on scene, I just smile because he's just playing them. Right, it's like he's playing them, but it's just like, well, it wasn't even better than just allowing you to come back into the games. I'm gonna walk these games with you, say, hey, I did it, and you proved me right.
And it's even worse because the only person who knows he's the front man is his brother, but his brother's not on the island, and he's never seen the front man, and Gi-hun has never seen the front man's face before. So it's
they all know what happened. Jun-ho and Gi-hun, they came together in the beginning of the season before he even got to the games. Whole system, plot out, everything. But hey, I'm not even gonna tell you. I told you, I got my brother's the front man, whatever. But I can't give you a picture, nothing. And I was just like, man, what? How is he gonna find out? But this whole time, while they're in the games, then Gi-hun and his crew trying to go find the island, and then find that this is a bigger system than they realize in terms of Squid Games, in terms of who's running all this and who's also protecting this organization, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I just like I felt, to me, the whole point of why he jump into the games the whole time, and yet at the same time his performance, like Lee, the actor Lee, like he has a way of face acting where you don't know what he's going to do, and then how that bring the level of trust, because then it's like, is he giving a sympathetic story but it's all really a lie or based in some truth, right? From his background, with his brother. But the fact that like he be bonded with some of these players, and then he bonded with them and everything, and only to like pull the rug under them again, but then yet still not reveal who he is. Again, this is an Empire Strike Back season, but still no sequel. I'm not telling you I am the frontman, I am Jun Ho's brother, no, I'm not telling you that. I'm just gonna let you play this game, and I also let you presume that I think I'm presumably dead too, like at the end, right? It just like I don't know. But also as we expand through the mindset of this season, we also get to expand in terms of people's perspective. Like we get actual perspective of an actual employee of the Squid Games, one of the shooters, from her perspective and why she kills and stuff. But what's her personal life before you even get to the games, and like that. It's just like, what would you thought about that character? Because I was just like, man, this is a whole one like 360 here, like.
Yeah, no. Like when they revealed at the end of episode 2, because like at first you think, oh, she's gonna be a player in the game. No, she is one of the masterminds. I was like, oh, okay. But that's interesting. And again, it's one of the things that keeps the season interesting, because it's like we never got that perspective outside of those guys who were like harvesting, the organs back in season 1. We never really got the perspective of any of the people outside of the front man and outside of what we would find out to be the man behind it all back in season 1. So it's like getting to see what it's like for these guys in their day-to-day to basically do a job that requires them to off all these people. And it's like moral ethics, and it's like for her, she's just doing her job, even if it means screwing up their underground little thing that they are continuing to do.
Organ donating or whatever. Like, I mean, but then also understanding the background of the front man, where it's like, oh yeah, he gave one of his kidneys to his brother or something like that. But then, now he's running this thing, and what do they do? We kill these people, but also we're gonna harvest their organs to save lives. Like, I was just like, okay, well, how that gets a deeper thing. So, but yeah, I don't know. I felt, to me, like, do I think that this season is better than season 1? No, only because I think season 1, again, you're going in blind, you don't know what to experience, but at the same time, on an emotional level, I think there's far more greater, stakes, to a point where they took you on this roller coaster. So now in season 2, you already know what to prepare for and not get attached with some of these characters and stuff. But I mean, you can still get attached. It's gonna hurt, But
which let's talk about how it all ended, because we only alluded to it. But the season ended with, after the whole classic turn off the lights, see who survives after you give them a little bit of weapons. After that, they steal the guns from the masked men and plan to invade, to get up to the control room and end the game once and for all, set everybody free. Of course, there are some people that are dying on both sides. Meanwhile, you got Mr. Traitor over here playing both sides as they're running up with guns. You got the ex-Marine here, which we didn't really talk about him, but he was a cool character too. Starting to have some panic attacks as well, and everyone's just trying to get there. You got people dying, and then once he's like, all right, playtime's over, and then front man wins again. He's like, you wanted to be the hero, that's what happens. Kills his best friend right in front of him.
But also before he even gets to that point, like them conversating about how they're going to proceed and saying like, yeah, we're going to do this, but people on our side are going to have to be sacrificed. He's like, oh, so you would sacrifice the minority for the greater, for the greater good? Like, yeah, but that's what it takes. He's like, okay. And I believe that's going to be, just as we got the scene in episode 1 with the salesman, I hope we get that with the front man and him, like in the final season 3. I'm just talking like, hey, so let's go through what happened here. So you said this on this game. I was with you. I was tied next to you. And then yet, after all of that, then you said this. So who's right or who's wrong? You know, like and just play in his face. You're right. You know, and I think that's again that to me is just that's so more. I don't want to say interesting, but it just felt more addictive for me to like, oh, I need to get more invested with this character because I'm on the edge of my seat now, and I'm fully more invested because of the fact that like he's playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers, but at the same time not in the stereotypical way like, yo, you can't see he did. No, someone did saw. Hey, there's some off with him, and it was too late, right? But they could. I think this biggest season, like the big message this season was, and I don't know how you feel about this, but like about choices, and choices have consequences, right? How even though season 1 was about, you know, in terms of tackling, you know, with your grief and trauma and everything like that, and also how finances, you know, coming from, you know, your background, everyone has a chance to, you know, to win the lottery and actually, you know, and turn their whole life around. But now it's like, hey, you know that, you know, you've been down this game before. Now you think that people are good or inherently bad, whatever. Like those things are gonna have to result back to a choice. And then they change the rules of the game and actually invite, you know, players to make their own decision. And so to a point like, hey, you can't blame anybody but yourselves here. We gave you a waiver, and you know, previous policy, you just have to stay here the whole time. But now it's like, hey, each game you can leave. Just vote. Majority rules, right? That's how society works, right? But what do? They're like, no, if we just get to the next game, then we can get more money if it's divided between all of us and stuff.
Right. And I feel like the biggest example is that one old man that's just like, well, you got through this, or oh, you don't know what you're talking about. We can do this. One more. Like he and Thanos are probably like the biggest examples of like, you know, people who just didn't care. Like they're given the choice to leave after seeing all these people get murked, and they're just like, I don't care until I die. One more game.
Right. Yeah. And I felt that to me, again, they balance out this cast as, you know, again, not the biggest win for this season for me was they didn't rehash season 1. They added new characters, but added a totally different dimension to them. Like, again, having a pregnant woman there, also the father of that, you know, of that child is also there too, who have other enemies as well. Like, you know, the ex-military, you know, folks, but then when the task is called to you, what are you going to do? Right. But then it's also realizing like, hey, what is that? Was that like warfare, anxiety or trauma or PTSD or something like that? Or was that just him just being a coward or something? You know, we don't know. Also having someone be fully accepted in terms of not just talking about their sexuality, but just accepting them as a human being, right? And you see that from different generations when they were interaction with the mom and the son and that cast too, and they able to pair characters up with each other, but still giving the kind of emotional weight of what the Squid Games entail. And I feel to me like they delivered on that. I believe it's worth the wait for 3 years. But the fact that knowing that we have season 3 coming out, you know, later this year, I'm like, I'm gonna give a pass saying like, yep, I'm satisfied because this gives you some like more things and stuff, and I'm invested in terms of how this is going to end, and I hope they don't pull a Game of Thrones with this to actually wrap this up fully. But like, what's your thoughts on this as we wrap up?
Yeah, no, I definitely say as well, like this was worth the wait, because I'm glad that this wasn't rushed in any way, because as I said, I was hoping that the second season, even if it doesn't live up to most of the hypes of the first season, that it doesn't rehash. And thankfully, the director and the writers and everybody in the cast took their time to film both season 2 and 3, give it a good enough gap that we were ready, and that they gave us enough surprises to be satisfied. And I feel like going into season 3, which I think Netflix said potentially could come out like June of this year, maybe, that we will be in for more and more surprise. Like they're keeping us invested in a good way, progressing the story and evolving it with time and with the themes that they're trying to go for. I think that they did it I don't want to say perfectly, but they did a really good job in
Yeah.
conveying that times have changed and enough time has changed in between the games that, not everything can stay the same. And thankfully, there was no rehashing. And I'm excited. I was excited for this season. I left satisfied, and I cannot wait for the third and final season.
Yeah, and I'm invested, and I know in terms of ratings, critically and stuff is doing very well. But yeah, I thought this is a win, and I'm glad that they just followed this right back up from the season 3 later this year, and I'm here for it. I'm invested. But that concludes our review. Make sure you subscribe button, comment, like, and share. If you've seen all 7 episodes of season 2 of Squid Games, let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below. All right, guys, see you guys next video. Peace.